Shalom. It's your brother with another quick coffee break and a quick exhortation for the brothers and sisters in the truth. First and foremost, I want to give all honor and all glory to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Yahushai. Right? I want to come with a quick video on the question of the day is, can you judge? Right? We're met with this argument, per se, all the time is, you can't judge me. We hear a lot of Christians and hear a lot of people come and, try to throw that in your face when you're trying to deter them away from sins or show them their transgressions and get them back on the right track. The first thing that comes out the majority of their mouths is, you can't judge me. You cannot judge. You're not Christ. You're not the Most High. So-and-so. You cannot judge. Right? But the question of the day is, can you judge? Right? And what is judgment? Right? What is judgment? Right? And I want to present a definition of what judgment is. Right? So the definition of judgment is the ability to make considerate decisions or come to a sensible conclusion. Right? To make considerate decisions. Right? Why are you not able to make a considerate decision about things that are conducive to saving your life? Things of that nature. And the key word in that definition is sensible. Right? What does the word sensible mean? Right? Real quick, a definition of sensible is of a statement or a course of action chosen in accordance with wisdom or prudence, likely to be a benefit. So if I make a decision that is beneficial for your life, if it has to do with salvation or just saving your life at the moment, say you walking out in the middle of the street and there's a car coming, a quick decision would be, on a wise level is, hey, get out of the way, right, real quick, because that car is coming and you're going to get struck. Right? Watch out. I'm making a conscientious decision to call out to you to make you aware that there is a vehicle coming, that you now have to make that decision to get out from among that vehicle, right, before you get destroyed, man. That is a decision being made. Right? So why is it that you cannot make a proper judgment when it comes to the law, statutes, and commandments of God, showing somewhere their sins? Right? Christians get it bad to where they hear something that they're doing wrong and they get called out for it, and they automatically go to, well, you can't judge me. You can't judge me. What you don't understand is you want to get the judgment from your brother so you can get back right on track before the Most High, before you receive the judgment of the Most High. That's the judgment you don't want to receive. Right? And that's the second definition of judgment is a misfortune, right? A misfortune or calamity viewed as a divine punishment. You don't want that judgment from the Most High. Right? Because if you don't take heed of the warning of the judgment of your brother, then after, the judgment of the Most High is going to come. And you don't want to receive that judgment. So again, the question begs, can you judge? Right? And let's find out. Because we understand from the beginning that the Lord, set up judges for his people. It was a reason why he set up judges. It's for they can make the wise and prudent decisions that are best fitting for the people. Right? That's why you have a whole book called Judges. Right? Let's go to Judges, matter of fact. Let's go to the book of Judges. Right? Chapter 2. Salaki. And verse number 16, and it reads, nevertheless, the Lord raised up judges, which delivered them out of the hand of those that spoiled them. So the Lord raised up judges among the children of Israel to make those wise and prudent decisions to get Israel out of troubled situations, right? To get them on the right path, to keep them in a righteous standing with the Most High, right? Making conscientious efforts to steer them in the right path, right? In righteousness, according to the law, right? So there has to be judges among the people to keep the people in order. That's what a judge does. He is a righteous dealer for judgment, to give a judgment or an assessment on a situation so the judgment righteously can come down. The decision can correctly be made, right? And that's what we got to understand as a people is judging necessarily is not a bad thing. Like I said, judgment can be for your benefit. Now, there can be bad judgment. People just judging you just because, trying to talk down on you and, XYZ, making carnal or vain judgments or wickedness, in the world. People just talking about you and just judging you just because you walked out the house. Oh, well, that's a bad person. How can you tell? Oh, by the way they walk out. That's it. No, you're supposed to make judgments in a righteous manner, according to the law. If you're going to judge on what a man speaks, let you understand that his conversation has to be seasoned with salt, meaning laced with the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the Most High. Now, if he's just always talking carnally, he's always speaking wicked, he's using so-called curse words all the time, he's talking about, sex and lewdness and madness all the time. Now, hey, man, yeah, that brother's off, man. But you still made a correct judgment of saying, hey, man, that brother's off because he ain't, all the stuff he's talking about is nothing but vain and madness, man. Right? Even Moses was a major judge, right, of the people. But even Moses had to have help, in situations to judge because he was charged with, the whole congregation, the whole body of Israel. Right? Even his father-in-law, Jethro, told him, man, you taking a lot on your shoulders. You're going to need help to make those decisions. Right? Let's get that in the book of Exodus real quick. Right? Exodus, I believe, chapter 18. Right? This is the book of Exodus, chapter 18. And I'm going to start at verse number 19, and it reads, "Hearken now unto my voice. I will give thee counsel, and Yahweh shall be with thee. Be thou for the people to Godward, that thou mayest bring the cause unto Yahweh." Right? So he's telling them, like, yeah, be towards the people with the wisdom, knowledge that you understand. So now you can bring those causes to the Most High, those pleads, those moans, the groans, whatever it is that the people are petitioning for. He would be able to bring those things before the Most High and get those correct judgments, right? Right? And then it says, "And thou shalt teach them ordinances and laws, and shalt show them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do. Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear Yahweh, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands and rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50 and rulers of tens. And let them judge the people at all seasons. And it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge. So shall it be easier for thyself, and that they shall bear the burden with thee." Right? So the Lord said, look, through Jethro, he told him, look, appoint men that are able, that are going to judge on a righteous judgment. Right? Because it says God-fearing men. What does that mean, God-fearing men? Men that keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. So they were able to judge righteously among the people. And the things that were too great for them to bring back to Moses so he can go to the Father with the knowledge and wisdom to receive from him to make those conscientious decisions. But all the small matters, it says they shall judge. Right? So why is it that You don't think that you can receive a righteous judgment from your brother, right? The Lord had appointed men that feared the Lord. What does that mean, to fear the Lord? To keep the laws. These men were spiritual, right? And what does it mean to be spiritual? Matter of fact, let me get this one real quick, right? Let me get this one. It's 1 Corinthians, right? Get another classic real quick. 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 15. It says, but he that is spiritual judgeth all things, right? So being spiritual is what? What does that mean to be a spiritual man? Let's find out, right? Let's see, right? This is the book of Romans chapter 7 and verse number 14. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under flesh. So a carnal man shouldn't be up there just making judgments off of his own vain opinion, his own thoughts, but he makes spiritual, conscientious decisions and judgments over the people according to the laws of God. That it enables him to make righteous judgments between his brethren, right? He can't uphold one above another. He can't esteem one greater than the other, right? He can't treat one better than the other just because of a status or, his credentials or something like that in the earth, right? But better yet, he's to make a righteous judgment. If this man with all this money is in the wrong, he's going to be judged for it. If this man is poor that has nothing, if he's in the wrong, he's going to be judged for it, and vice versa. These things had to be judged righteously according to the laws of God and not on a man's carnal decisions, right? Going back to the law, right? Watch this, right? Because this was in the law, right? In Leviticus 19, right? And verse number 15, it says, ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty, but in righteousness thou shalt judge thy neighbor. But why does it keep saying in righteousness and righteousness? People use that term loosely, but what does it mean to be righteous? To be in that righteous stance with the Most High, to be able to make those judgments righteously. What does that mean? Once again, going back to those God-fearing men. What does that mean? Let's find out again real quick. Going to Deuteronomy, man. Right? Chapter 6 and verse 25. It says, and it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God, as he hath commanded us. So you had to be on the level of keeping these commandments and understanding the laws of God and what they were to be able to be a righteous judge. You had to know the law. You had to understand those things to be able to be up there in the position of a judge, right? So you can be able to, discern the difference of any situation that was going on. And you could not make partial judgment. You could not be there honoring one over the other, right? Betwixt brothers, you couldn't do that, right? Check this out, and I'm gonna stay in Deuteronomy, right? Right. I didn't want to be too long. I just wanted to get a couple of points, man. Right. This is Deuteronomy 1:16. It says, and I charge your judges, right? I charged your judges at that time, saying, hear the causes between your brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother, and the stranger that is with him. Ye shall not respect persons in judgment, but ye shall hear the small as well as the great. Ye shall not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment of Yahweh's, right, is Yahweh's. And the cause that is too hard for you, bring unto me, and I will hear it. Right? So you have to be able to judge righteously between your brethren, man. Right? According to the laws of God. So when they meet us on the streets and say, well, you can't judge me, whatever, things of that nature, We're making wise decisions based off the law. We see you, brother, not wearing fringes. It is the law that you have to wear fringes. Right, sister? You're not wearing dresses. You're out here breaking the Sabbath. You're eating pork in front of our faces, brother. Right? We're making wise decisions or judgments based according to the laws of God. So can you judge? The answer is yes. Judge your neighbor in righteousness. So people got to stop saying, well, you can't judge me. You can't judge me. No, we cannot condemn you. We don't have a hell or a heaven to put you in. But the Lord said, cry aloud and don't spare not, right? Lift up your voice like a trumpet and show my people their transgressions, meaning their sins. Make the judgment. Tell them where they're going wrong and steer them back to the righteous path on the spiritual level, man. According to the laws of God, making righteous judgments, right? So understand you are able to judge your neighbor, right, in righteousness. Right, let's get this last precept real quick, going back to 1 Corinthians, right? The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 6 and verse 2, it says, do ye not know that the saints shall judge the world? And if the world shall be judged by you, are you unworthy to judge the smallest matter? Think about that, man. You are a saint of the Most High. Are you unworthy to make a judgment? No. Make the righteous judgment and save your brother or your sister from the fire. Right? But with that, I hope the video was edifying. Take the precepts and apply them to your life and make righteous, wise judgments among the people. Shalom.